My name is Lily Harmon. I am 34 years old. And last summer at my family's annual reunion, my aunt stood up in front of 38 people, put her arm around a woman nobody recognized, and said, "This is the one we don't talk about." She was laughing when she said it. The kind of laugh that expects the room to laugh with it. I was standing right there, 34 years old, in a blue dress I had ironed that morning, holding a glass of lemonade that had gone warm in my hand. The woman my aunt was introducing me to did not laugh. She looked at my aunt. Then she looked at me. Then she reached into the leather portfolio bag on her shoulder and pulled out a business card. She held it out, not to my aunt, to me. And then she said 7 words that rewrote 34 years of labels. I will tell you what those 7 words were. But first I need to take you back. To a Sunday afternoon when I was 6 years old. To a yellow dress with a stain on the collar. To the first time I understood that, in my family, a label was not a word you could wash off. If you are watching this right now, drop your city in the comments. Just your city. I read every single one. And if you have ever been the one your family overlooked, like this video. Now, back to the beginning. I grew up in a town called Millbrook, Virginia. Small enough that everyone knew everyone. Small enough that everyone knew your family's story before you did. My parents, Robert and Carol Harmon, had 3 children. My older sister, Vanessa. My younger brother, Ethan. And me. Vanessa was the pretty one. She came out of the womb performing. Pageant smiles at 6. Homecoming queen at 17. The kind of daughter my mother introduced first at every gathering, arm linked through hers, proud in a way that did not require effort. Ethan was the smart one. Robotics club, honor roll, early admission to Virginia Tech at 17. My father put his report cards on the refrigerator with magnets shaped like little gold stars. I was the other one. Not rebellious. Not difficult. Just different. Quieter. More interior. The kind of child who spent Saturday mornings at the library instead of the soccer field and came home with books nobody had recommended. The label arrived when I was 6. My mother was sewing matching dresses for a church potluck. Vanessa got a new one, white cotton with blue ribbon at the waist. I got Vanessa's from last Easter. Yellow. A small stain at the collar from a juice box Vanessa had spilled months earlier. My mother said she would treat the stain later. She did not. At the potluck, my Aunt Grace held Vanessa's face in both hands and said, "This one is going to break hearts." Then she looked at me, tilted her head, turned to a neighbor and said, "That one got the Harmon nose. Poor thing." My mother was standing 4 feet away. She heard every word. She did not say, "That is not kind." She did not say, "Please do not speak about my daughter that way." She laughed. Short, soft, the laugh of someone who has heard a thing said so many times that she has stopped hearing it as cruel. I was 6 years old in a yellow dress with a stained collar. I did not know then that ugly was a verdict. I thought it was something temporary. Something you could grow out of the way you grew out of shoes. It was not temporary. The label worked like a filing system. School photos. My mother ordered a full portrait package for Vanessa. 8 by 10, framed, living room wall. For me, she checked the wallet size box. $2.50. The photo went into a kitchen drawer with expired coupons and dead batteries. Birthdays. Vanessa got theme parties. Princess at 7. Spa day at 10. Pool party at 12 with a playlist she had curated herself. My birthday was 3 weeks after Ethan's. Every year my mother combined them. The cake always said, "Happy birthday, Ethan." My name squeezed underneath in smaller frosting like an afterthought someone caught at the last second. Christmas. Vanessa opened carefully chosen coordinated outfits. Shoes that matched. A coat with a faux fur collar. I got books. You like reading, right? My mother said it every year. Not as a question, as an instruction. Here is what you are. Here is what you get. I left Millbrook at 18 on a partial scholarship to James Madison University. Art history and design. My mother's reaction came with a slight tilt of her chin she reserved for things she found impractical. Design? That is not really a career for someone like you. Someone like you. For words she used for everything about me that she had already decided. My father drove me to campus. 3 hours on the interstate. Windows down. Radio off. He was not a man who used silence to communicate warmth, but when he pulled up to the dormitory and set my suitcase on the sidewalk, he said something I have carried for 16 years. Make something they cannot look away from. 6 words. No hug. He got back in the car and drove. I taped a note with those 6 words on my dorm room wall that night. My roommate, a girl from Richmond named June, asked what it meant. I said, I am still figuring that out. I built a career the way you build anything that matters. Slowly, without announcement, one decision at a time. I got a job at a small design studio in Richmond at 23. 3 people, including the owner. I did everything. Client presentations, visual identities, environmental graphics. I worked nights on freelance projects and weekends on a portfolio I was quietly proud of. At 26, I started my own studio. 2 people. Then 4. We specialized in brand identity for nonprofits and community organizations, the kinds of clients most studios turned away because the budgets were small and the work was difficult. By 29, we had won 2 regional design awards. By 31, a campaign we designed for a literacy nonprofit was featured in a national design publication. By 33, that same campaign was shortlisted for an international design award that I had previously only seen listed in the bios of people I admired. I did not tell my family. Not because I was ashamed. Because I had learned, somewhere between the yellow dress and my first client, that sharing good news with people who had already decided what you were capable of was like handing someone a key to a lock they were determined not to open. My grandmother, my father's mother, Ruth Harmon, was the one person who knew everything. She was 72. Retired schoolteacher. Kept a journal every morning with a green pen, the same color, every morning for 40 years because she said consistency was a form of devotion. She had been paying attention to me since I was 6 years old in a yellow dress at a church potluck, and she had never once called me the wrong thing. She had also been keeping something I did not know about. But I will get to that. The reunion was held every July at my grandmother's house outside Millbrook. She had passed 2 years earlier. My mother had inherited the house and insisted on continuing the tradition, not because she loved tradition, because she loved having a stage. I had not attended in 3 years. This year, I went because my father asked me to. He was 61. He had been tired lately, a tiredness that had nothing to do with sleep. He sat more slowly. He reached for things more carefully. He had not said anything directly, but I understood what it meant when a quiet man asks his quietest child to come home. I said yes. 3 weeks before the reunion, I received an email from a woman named Clara Webb. She was the editor of a design industry publication called Form and Function, not a household name, but within the field, the kind of magazine whose cover meant something. She was writing a profile series on independent studio founders working in the nonprofit and social impact space. She wanted me as one of the features. We had been emailing for a month about logistics. Which projects to photograph. Which clients to interview. Timeline for the piece. In one email, I mentioned I would be in Millbrook for a family gathering. She replied that she had a client meeting in the area the same weekend and asked if she could stop by to review the final layout proofs in person. I said of course. I gave her the address. I did not think much about it. People say they will stop by. Usually they don't. I did not consider what it would mean to have Clara Webb walk into a Harmon family reunion with a leather portfolio and a business card. I should have. I arrived at the reunion at noon. 14 cars in the driveway already. Folding tables across the lawn with checkered tablecloths. A grill going since morning. The smell of charcoal and potato salad, and the particular specific smell of a house that belonged to someone who was no longer in it. I sat in my car for 4 minutes before going in. I counted my breaths. Then I got out. The greetings told the whole story. Vanessa arrived 5 minutes after me in a white SUV with her husband and 2 children. Hugs. Squeals. Vanessa, you look amazing. My mother held Vanessa's youngest on her hip and smiled the smile she reserved for things she was proud of. I walked in. Hey, Lily. Oh, hi. My Aunt Grace did not look up from the fruit salad she was arranging. My mother saw me, paused. Oh, Lily. I wasn't sure you were coming. She said it with a small lift of surprise, as if I had wandered in from the wrong yard. I found my father near the back of the lawn under the oak tree. He had a glass of water and his hands in his lap, and the expression of a man conserving something. I sat next to him. He squeezed my knee once. No words. We watched the yard together. The name tags were on a table near the entrance. Pre-made, everyone's name printed in neat black letters. I looked through every one. Mine was not there. A blank tag and a marker sat at the end of the table. 38 people at that reunion. I was the only one who wrote her own name. At lunch I was seated at the overflow table, the one with the folding chairs and the children who were too young to follow adult conversation. I sat between a 9-year-old named Marcus who was building something architectural with corn cob holders and a 7-year-old girl who kept asking me what clouds were made of. I told her. She found this interesting. She was the most engaged audience I had all day. From the overflow table, I could see the main table clearly. Vanessa's husband was talking about their new vacation property. 3 bedrooms, right on the lake. We got it under asking. My mother leaned forward. Invested. Proud. The way she leaned toward anything Vanessa said. An older cousin approached me. So what are you doing these days, Lily? Before I could answer, my Aunt Grace's voice carried from the main table. She does something with logos or something. Graphic design. I am a studio founder, I said. We work in brand identity and visual communication. Grace waved her hand. Right. Like making things pretty. My mother, without turning around. Vanessa, tell everyone about the lake house. I ate my potato salad. I watched the dynamics I had been watching for 34 years. The same choreography. The same roles. The same permission slips renewed silently at every gathering. What I did not know was that someone else was about to watch them too. A silver car I did not recognize pulled into the driveway at 2:15. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. About 50. Dark blazer over a white shirt. A leather portfolio bag. She looked around the yard the way you look at a room you were not expecting to walk into. Clara Webb. She spotted me near the oak tree and walked over. Lily. The address worked. I hope this isn't terrible timing. I looked at the yard. My mother rearranging the dessert table. Vanessa taking photos with cousins. Grace refilling her drink. It is always complicated here, I said. Come on. I led her to the overflow table. We sat with Marcus and the girl who wanted to know about clouds. Clara opened her leather portfolio and spread out the layout proofs for the feature. Full-color spreads, photographs of our projects, the campaign that had been shortlisted for the international award. She sat at the overflow table with me. The first adult who had chosen to sit there all day. It took my Aunt Grace 11 minutes to notice. She walked over with her drink and her hostess expression fully engaged. Well, hello. Are you a friend of Lily's? I started to speak. Grace did not wait. She turned to Clara, tilted her head, and delivered the line she had probably said 100 times. This is the one we don't talk about. She laughed. Warm. Casual. The laugh of someone sharing a charming inside joke. Clara's face went still. Not angry. Still. The way a camera goes still before the shutter opens. She looked at Grace. Then at me. Then back at Grace. I'm sorry. What did you just say? Grace doubled down. She always doubled down. Oh, it's just a family thing. Every family has one, right? The quiet one, the different one. She waved her hand. The dismissive wave I had been watching since I was 6. Clara did not laugh. She set her coffee cup down slowly. Deliberately. My mother appeared at the end of the table. She had seen the stranger. Her territorial instinct arrived before her courtesy. Who is your friend, Lily? Clara spoke first. I'll introduce myself in a moment. I would like to wait until more people are listening. The air shifted. Clara stood. She smoothed her blazer. She picked up her portfolio. And she walked to the main table with the confidence of someone who addresses rooms full of strangers for a living. Excuse me, she said. Not loud. Just clear. The people at the main table turned. Then the second table. Someone turned down the music. 38 faces turned toward a woman they did not know. My mother's smile froze. Grace set down her drink. Clara reached into her blazer pocket. She pulled out a business card. Handed it to my mother. My name is Clara Webb. I am the editor of Form and Function. A pause. My mother looked at the card. Clara said, I drove here today to review a feature we are publishing next month. She looked across the yard. Found me at the overflow table. The feature is about her. She pointed at me. Not dramatically. Simply. The way you identify someone whose name should already be known. The yard went silent. The kind of silence where you can hear ice shifting in a cooler 20 feet away. Clara opened her portfolio. She held up the first spread, our literacy campaign. Bold, clean, the work I was most proud of. This campaign reached 400,000 people in its first month. It was shortlisted for an International Design Award. A second spread. A community health visual identity we had built pro bono. This organization increased their donor base by 60% in the year after this rebrand. A third. A spread photograph of our studio, 4 people around a table covered in sketches and print samples. Lily Harmon founded this studio at 26. She has built one of the most respected independent practices in the region. Clara set the spreads on the main table. Laid them out so everyone could see. My mother stared at them. Her expression was the specific expression of someone encountering information that contradicts a story they have told for 30 years. Clara looked at my mother. Then at Grace. Then at the rest of the family, table by table. Lily Harmon is one of the most thoughtful designers working in the social impact space today. Her feature runs next month. She paused. I assumed you knew. 4 words. Delivered without judgment. Without performance. Just clean professional clarity that landed in the yard like a stone dropped in still water. Grace's mouth opened. Nothing came out. My mother recovered first. The instinct of a woman who had spent 30 years managing the family narrative. Well, of course. We have always been very proud of Lily. Her voice was bright. Too bright. The voice she used for company. Her smile stopped at her cheekbones. I said nothing. I watched my mother say the words she had never once said in 34 years, to a room full of people who had watched her not say them, and not one face looked surprised. After Clara's introduction, the yard reorganized itself the way yards do when something true has been said out loud. Some family members clustered near my mother. The aunts who had always orbited Carol Harmon. The cousins who had built their social position on the existing hierarchy. Others drifted toward me. Tentative. Uncertain. Like people approaching a building they had been told was condemned and were now discovering was sound. My cousin Renee, 31, someone I had grown up alongside without ever quite knowing, sat down at the overflow table across from me. She did not say anything at first. Then, I didn't know. About the work. About any of it. I know, I said. Nobody asked. She looked at her hands. That's on us, she said. That's really on us. Marcus, the 9-year-old who had been building things with corn cob holders, looked up at the layout spreads Clara had left on the main table. Did you make those? He said. Yes, I said. The colors are really good, he said. Then he went back to his corn cob architecture. I held that for a long time. My mother found me near the kitchen screen door. She had waited until the crowd thinned, until she could speak without witnesses. She had been doing this my whole life, saving the difficult conversations for private spaces where no one could verify what was said. Why would you do this? Not a question. Low. Controlled. The voice she used when she was 1 degree from breaking. Why would you bring a stranger here to humiliate me? I did not bring her to humiliate anyone, I said. She came because she thinks my work matters. Your work. She said it twice. The way you repeat something that does not compute. Do you know what I gave up for this family? I sacrificed. You sacrificed your own dreams, I said. I know. She stopped. I found the sketchbook, Mom, I said. In the attic. When I was 16. The green spiral one. The color left her face. All at once. Like a drain had been pulled. She stared at me. You were studying interior design, I said. Before Vanessa. Before everything. You were good. Really good. And you dropped out and you never picked it up again. Her mouth moved. No sound. That is not my fault, I said. And it was never something I should have been punished for. She had no answer for that. There was no script that could absorb a simple true thing said plainly. She turned. Walked inside. I heard the bathroom door close. The woman who had spent 34 years making me invisible had just made herself disappear. My Aunt Grace made her attempt 20 minutes later. She found Clara near the dessert table and reloaded her hostess' smile. Ms. Webb. What a wonderful surprise. I have always said Lily was talented. Always. Clara was holding a plate with a slice of cake she had not touched. She looked at Grace the way an editor looks at copy that is not ready for publication. Did you? She said. Because about 30 minutes ago you introduced her as the one you don't talk about. Grace's face went red. Starting at the neck. Climbing upward. That was a joke. A family joke. Usually jokes make everyone laugh, Clara said. She did not raise her voice. She simply stated a fact and let it sit there. From across the yard, my Uncle Pete's voice. Quiet. Final. Grace. Let it go. She stared at him. He looked back. She sat down. For the first time in as long as I could remember, my Aunt Grace was silent. Not performing silence. Not strategic silence. The kind of silence that happens when you realize everyone just saw who you really are. I found my father where I had left him. Oak tree. Lawn chair. Water glass on the ground beside him. He had not moved during any of it. Not during Clara's introduction. Not during my mother's performance. Not during Grace's attempt. He had sat with his hands on his knees and watched his family the way he had always watched them, from the edge, with the expression of a man who had something to say and had forgotten where he put his voice. I pulled a chair next to his, sat down. I found something, Dad, I said. In your study. Last time I visited. He looked at me. The folder in the bottom drawer. The brown one with the rubber band. His jaw tightened. Just slightly. Inside that folder, which I had found 3 months earlier while looking for a pen, was a collection I had not expected. Articles. Every one of them about me. Printouts from design blogs. Award announcements. A photograph of our studio team at the regional awards ceremony. A scan of the form and function feature announcement. Each one printed carefully. Each one dated in his handwriting in the top right corner. He had been collecting them for 9 years. 9 years, Dad, I said. He looked at the oak branches, then at his hands. Should have shown you sooner, he said. His voice was careful. A man choosing each word like he was carrying something fragile. Should have said it out loud instead of putting it in a drawer. You kept the receipts, I said. He looked at me. Something in his face moved. Make something they cannot look away from, I said. You told me that the day you drove me to campus. You remembered, he said. Every day, I said. He reached into his shirt pocket, pulled out a photograph. Small, slightly creased. Me at 26, standing in front of our first studio space. Smiling at the camera with the expression of someone who has just signed a lease on something that frightens and thrills them in equal measure. Where did you get that? I said. Your grandmother, he said. She sent it to me 3 years ago. Told me to stop keeping things in drawers. I looked at the photograph. She knew, I said. She always knew, he said. About you. About your mother. About all of it. She told me once, Robert, that child of yours is building something. The least you can do is watch. He pressed the photograph into my hand. Keep it, he said. Don't put it in a drawer. Clara found me near her car before she left. I want to apologize, she said. I did not intend to cause a scene. You didn't cause a scene, I said. You told the truth. The scene was already there. She handed me an envelope. The formal offer letter, cover feature, next month's issue. Photo shoot in 2 weeks in Richmond. Thank you, Clara, I said, for coming. For all of it. Thank your work, she said. It did the talking. She got in her car and drove. I stood in the gravel driveway and watched the silver car until it turned onto the main road. Then I turned back to the yard. My mother was being attended to by 2 aunts near the main table. Vanessa was on the far side of the yard, phone in hand, her back to the group. Grace was sitting alone near the fence, her visor off, looking at nothing. My father was still under the oak tree. He raised his hand when he saw me looking. I raised mine back. And then my cousin Renee's daughter, 8 years old, bare feet, hair still damp from running through the sprinkler, came running across the yard and stopped in front of me. Are you the one who makes the posters? She said. Yes, I said. Can I see them sometime? Anytime, I said. I will show you everything. She hugged me, quick, fierce, the kind of hug that has no agenda, and ran back to the sprinkler. I stood there for a moment in the amber afternoon light and let the yard be what it was. Complicated. Imperfect. Real. Then I walked to my car, put Clara's envelope on the passenger seat, and drove. 3 months later the issue landed. My face was on the cover of Form and Function. Not smiling. Not posing. Standing in our studio with my arms at my sides looking directly into the camera. The kind of photograph that does not ask for your approval. My father framed it. He hung it in his study, not the living room, the study where he spent his mornings, where the folder had lived in the bottom drawer for 9 years. My mother did not take it down. She did not acknowledge it. It just hung there. A quiet fact in a house that had spent decades arranging facts around me. Vanessa texted once. Saw the magazine. Really great, Lily. I replied, thank you. Nothing more. Grace did not call. I did not expect her to. My father called every Sunday after that. Not long calls. 10 minutes, sometimes 15. He asked about the studio, about projects, about what was coming next. He asked like someone who had decided that asking was better than filing. I answered every call. That November, I drove back to Millbrook for Thanksgiving. Not for the performance of it. For my father, who had asked, and for my grandmother's kitchen, which still smelled the same even though she was no longer in it. After dinner, I found my grandmother's journal in the study. The green pen one. She had kept it for 40 years. The last entry was dated 2 weeks before she died. One line. Lily is going to be fine. She always was. She just needed time to show them. I sat at her desk for a long time with that journal in my lap. Then I put it back on the shelf exactly where I had found it. My name is Lily Harmon. I am 34 years old. My family called me the ugly one for 34 years. My aunt introduced me to a stranger as the one we don't talk about, and that stranger walked to the main table with a leather portfolio and 7 words that rewrote 3 decades of labels. The feature is about her. Not a speech. Not a confrontation. Not revenge. Just 7 words and a business card and the quiet, devastating power of being seen by someone who had no reason to pretend. I spent 34 years trying to prove I was worth seeing. What I understand now is that I was always worth seeing. The problem was never my face or my nose or the yellow dress with the stain at the collar. The problem was the room. I was simply in the wrong room for 34 years. I restore nothing in my work. I build things. But what I know about building is the same thing the preservationists know about restoring. You start with the bones. You look past the damage. You ask, what was this supposed to be? And then you make it that. My family gave me a label at 6 years old. They renewed it every year. What they did not understand was that the label was never load-bearing. The structure underneath it, the one I had been building since my first library book, since my first drafting table, since the night I taped my father's 6 words to a dorm room wall, that structure never needed their approval to stand. It was always standing. They just forgot to look. If you have ever been labeled something that was never true, drop 1 word in the comments. Just 1. I read every single one. And if this story reminded you that the wrong room is not the same as the wrong person, share it with someone who needs to hear that today. Subscribe. The next story is already waiting.